What's up, guys? Drew here, bringing you another episode in the Let's Talk series on King Talk Live. I'm here with my man.
Hey, Fritz in the building. Get at it.
Usually, we talk about personal development, spiritual growth, current events. So, without further ado, let's get the show on the road.
Where we are as a people, right?
Mhm.
People, all people, right? But obviously, I'm a part of the Black community, so I'm talking, to my people, right? When you just think about that constant, loop, right? But then ultimately, right, that is then smacked with what emotion, right?
Mhm.
Right. So emotionally, unfortunately, anything that we hear it through the lens of emotion, right? So it doesn't matter what anybody says. So it does. So it's every time someone says a word, right? It's like your emotional radar is what it's like the first line of defense, and then sure enough, a word would then hit to a point where it hits off that emotional trigger, and then there comes your reaction, right? So now we're not even thinking about what the person is even saying. We're just waiting to be offended, then so that we can react to it, right?
Mhm.
So so ultimately, you got to really ask yourself, where did that synergy come from? All of a sudden, when you just think about how we just shifted, bro. In terms of just what a man, right? The characteristics of what a man, right? That whole right is like nowadays, bro. Like if you just think about how you portray yourself or how social media or how society, for the most part, will then portray how we should then be, right? Is this like everything is just ultimately, it's like I just feel like we're just broken as a people, right? Because now when you go and you try to speak to someone, right? And this is the thing that gets me the most, bro, right? And any level, right? Either being religion and or political, right? Ultimately, right? If I am a religious individual, right, or if I'm deeply into politics, right, and if I stand on my square, this is my principle, this is what I stand on, right, I should be able to engage with you in a conversation about, right, your whatever the case may be, right. This is your belief. This is what you, right, because ultimately I'm able to then stand on my square, and then I can have a conversation with you in regards to my position in terms of how that might then be perceived, how that might counter maybe your position, right. But guess what? I could have this exchange with you while maintaining what respect for you, right? So this conditioning that I find, myself in when I speak to individuals in terms of, like, right, we're chopping it up, we're building, and then all of a sudden, right, emotion starts to, right, it's like, man, bro, like, we're just, like, we're just having a conversation, right? So ultimately, I feel as a people, right, emotionally, we're just so reactive to everything emotionally, right? And again, when you think about the conditioning factor, that's what you ultimately will get. You get a group of people who are just frantic, right? It's like everything is just like right, and that's just ultimately how we. It's, I'm not saying all of us, but geez, man, enough of us is doing it, and it's to the point where we gotta call it out when we see it, because we gotta understand, right? At the end of the day, if we understand certain things to be right, a fact, right, in regards to how maybe a certain group could have been complicit in doing certain things, which then is a result of a certain reality, right? So if we could even understand that train of thought, right, to say, yes, I could clearly see how this is a thing, how can we then set that off to the side and say, well, you know what, I think, this entity, this group, do have the ability of having, empathy, right? No, like, you could be locked into that belief, if you want to, but no, you don't do one evil and then because you try to do all of these minor, small gestures, right, that you should already been doing, that now I'm supposed to be like, yeah, you know what, your heart's in the right place, you're taking the right steps, and then now just completely disregard that, while all along you're showing me still like, hey, you know what, I still don't give a rat's ass about you, right? So ultimately, is this to the point where, we need to really be able to have conversations, right? as individuals, minus the emotion, because all we're doing is just building, we're gaining a better perspective based upon how someone, see it. And as simple as that, right?
Sometimes, in our community, when we do talk, it may come off as, aggressive, which can also be passionate, because I'm excited about it. So I get a little bit louder, because I'm excited about it. So, it just to take into consider, right, emotions, and just not even like put them to the back, but to understand that, hey, this is my state, regardless of what I'm talking about or whatever it may be. I'm still going to be at this current state. You may say something that I don't agree with, but I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to try to get you to explain to me so I can understand it where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? But most people don't know how to have a conversation like that. As soon as they hear something that doesn't go along with what they believe, it's just like, I don't want to hear you anymore. That's about it. Or it's gonna be tension now. So in terms of emotion and conversation, it takes a lot of work. It's not something that you're gonna, oh, let me watch a couple videos and learn about emotions and then that's gonna be it. No, you have to learn about emotion at its core and understand that each emotion is different in terms of how they work, because with one emotion there's a counterpart, because you have anger and passion. It could look like the same thing. Anger and passion look like the same thing, but it depends on how well you know that person. Because if you don't know that person, you may think he's angry. I might look at him and he's just being passionate, man. That's just how he is. But just learning and understanding the emotion and get comfortable with the good ones and the bad ones.
Um, when you even say in that perspective, right? So when you think about lower vibrations versus higher vibrations, right?
Mhm.
And you even think about emotions, right? So when we even look at it from a perspective that everything that we know based upon this reality, this manipulation, right, was something that was essentially thought to us. It was something that was showed to us by someone else experience, right? The moment where we come into existence, again, we're being nurtured into a world through the lens of our caretaker, which then they will then start to create their impressions onto us, right? So I simply say that to say that when we come into this existence, into this reality, it's not like we come in and then we essentially, just adapt in a sense with the current times, and we grow based on that, right? And then, let's say once we get to a certain point and then we're integrated with other humans. No, everything again is how it's been, right? So somebody might then say, well, what's the relevancy, right? Yeah, it is what it is. I simply say that then to say, when we think about the things that we then understand or things that's then factualized, is based upon a group of people who collectively then says, okay, well, this is ultimately, what we are determined then to be a fact, right? So to say that in two ways, right? You can look at it from a perspective. When you look at it from a mathematical perspective, right? 1+1 = 2, right? So that's a universal language, right? Across the board, right? And then you can also look at it from a science perspective, define the law of gravity, right? So obviously there's a lot of of science that goes behind it, even being able to create such things that we have in today's right, which ultimately, if you then now follow the science, you will then be able to essentially replica, which then create and duplicate and so forth, etc. Right? So then someone can say, based upon the ability of me being able to repeat that, then I would say that I could authenticate it. So then I would say then that is factual for me, right? Now somebody else can do the then same thing, and then they don't have the same results, and then to them they could say, well, no, actually it didn't work out, so I can't say that. It's, you get what I'm saying in that regards, right? So now even in that sense, it could even be skewed again based upon someone's then opinion, because maybe they had a human error and it wasn't, the necessarily the science per se, right? So I say then all of that then to say this, right? So that's why I feel it's extremely important when I say, what came first, the chicken or the egg, where all of those different scenarios are relevant, right? I still believe that, even how I said, let's say if it was really human error, but let's say if this person was so caught up in their emotion, right, that they, ego couldn't even allow them to see the fact that it was a human error, but it was just more convenient than to say, oh, it had to have been this thing didn't work out, right? In that regards, right? But then if we understand now, okay, perfect. So how would then we be able to authenticate that? So let's say this scientist laid out his body of work in that regards, right? So if you guys pretty much understand where I'm going with this, right? At the end of the day, we just can't just base things based upon, even if there is a conclusion about something, right, that then suggests this is what it is. Ultimately, for me, I like to understand even the why behind that, right? So why did we even get to that conclusion, right? What was the work behind it that then says on both sides, this was the place that we decided that this is where we're going to meet at, right? So for me, people might then say, right, why would you want to know that? I just think if I'm here and if I could think the thoughts that maybe I should look into it, then sure enough, I'm gonna look into it, right? At least owe it to myself, in that regards, right? But it just goes back to keeping things in perspective, right? Again, right? So when we think research or trying to, gain a better perspective on something, it's dope when you have a build, right? Most of the time, you chopping it up with your peoples, whatever, because a lot of the times that's how we convey these different experiences that we're having, right, while we're living in the same, same world, same country, same city, so forth, etc. Right? So I, ultimately, I believe that it's, it just keeps things in its own rightful perspective when we understand, that we need to, I shouldn't say we need to, for me personally, right, I ultimately will go beyond in terms of getting a better understanding as far as, right, why is it that we do the things that we're just so conditionalized to do, when we understand it's not a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Trying, because I don't really like that word. It's more so doing.
Mm-mm.
Trying is like, when I hear the word trying, right? All I hear is somebody telling me about how, I'm about to start doing this next week.
Mm.
That's what trying sound like to me.
Mm.
You're not. I'm gonna say it to your face, you're not. And the next time somebody tell me that, I'm gonna start saying, you're not. I know it's probably gonna hurt their feelings, but I'm gonna tell you, you're not.
Yes.
And I'm gonna call you back next week and I'm gonna tell you, see, I told you weren't gonna do it. Because why? Anything, if you're listening to this, anything you're trying to do or you're about to do it right now. Start right now. If you want to start working out, start right now.
That's a fact.
You want to start doing this, you want to start your own business, start right now. Don't wait till when, or you have the amount of money, or you have this, all those excuses that you tell yourself. That's all your ego, anyways. So just start right now. Don't wait. Don't wait. Because at the end of the day, like this platform that we created, we could have said, oh, you know what? Let's just start in January because, it's a new year. It would be the perfect time to drop it. No, start right now.
Yes.
That's really what it is. You got to start right now. You can't wait. Don't wait because you don't even know if you're going to wake up tomorrow. So you can't say, I'm going to do it on Monday. You can't think like that.
Yes.
So, you know what I mean? If you're trying to do anything, you're working on something, you have a dream, start right now. I'm telling you, listen, Start
You
right now.
yourself. That's a fact, bro. You owe
Yeah,
it to yourself, bro. Nobody else is never, ever, ever gonna have any belief truly, as much as you, right? Because
mhm.
you really understand that fire, that ambition, that want, that calling, right? Nobody else will really get it besides you. So when you even talk about it and you actually bring it into fruition, right? People still ain't gonna understand it because they right. You will then think hopefully they will have that same kind of a drive that
Yeah,
ultimately get you to certain places, right? In that regards, right? I wish that on everyone, right? But right, and it's cool, man, right? But when you
yeah,
connect
exactly.
with like-minded individuals and you get to, really convey and really you could feel that energy, bro, right? It's just, man, that feeling is an incredible feeling, I'm sorry, it's an incredible feeling, right? And man, like, and you just urge, you just want more and more and more of it, right? So yeah, definitely, man, I agree with that. Facts.
And when you do start, don't focus on the end, because I know a lot you won't see that result right away, and that's where a lot of people give up. You gotta, hey, this is something that you want to do, right? And at the end of the day, nobody else is gonna do it for you, and nobody can stop you at the same time. Only thing that's gonna stop you is you. If you stop, and it's done. Whatever dream you have or whatever goal you're trying to achieve, if you stop, it's done. Because no one's coming out of any of the woodworks and be like, oh yeah, come on, man, let's do that dream. You got to be that person to be telling yourself that.
Facts.
You have to hold your own self accountable and understand that a lot of people are not going to see your vision because it's your vision. It's from your point of view. But let me say this, when you do get to that goal, best believe they're going to come out the woodworks and be like, oh man, I didn't know you. I see you. Okay. Or I see you. Yeah, you doing big things. I thought you were gonna give up on that. I didn't really know you were gonna get that far. I kind of tried a little something, but it didn't really work out. That's how most people are. But you just push past it, keep going, chip at it. It's just like a sculpture. You chip at it every day. You go in like, yep, let me get the feet in there. Keep doing the other feet. You go all the way up. Next thing you know, you got the whole sculpture. And then you're gonna look back and like, wow, I really did this. Yeah, you're like, wow, because it's like, don't focus too much on the end process, like the end goal. Like, you're gonna get there. It's gonna take some time. Enjoy the process. So just go back to try right now, because I feel like a lot of people they got goals and dreams. Everybody got goals and dreams, but they're expecting it something the right thing to fall like in their hand, or they're supposed to be walking down the street and it's gonna be right. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Yeah, you may come up on some money, but at the same time, it's like, even if you do come up on that money, what are you gonna utilize it for? How are you gonna take? So, say you come up on 10,000. How are you gonna flip that 10,000 into 100,000?
Facts.
Because that 10,000 will go. It will leave you. You know what I mean? It's not gonna stick around. That energy is not gonna stick around because it's not used to you. I know you're gonna try to hold on to it. Let me put it in a bank account. Nah, something gonna come up. It's like, damn, I gotta spend 5 grand. Now you're down to 5 grand. You have nothing to show for it. You spend off like, well, I do need some new shoes or I need this. I gone. Next thing you know, you're back to where you started. So, in terms of trying right now and doing the things that you need to do, just little by little, man, just chip at it.
Facts.
I know, because I procrastinate sometimes. I do. But at the end of the day, I'm at the point now where it's like, even though I procrastinate, once I get on it, I'm on it. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna do a little. No, I don't do a little bit. Once I'm in it, I'm in it. It gets to the point where I'm like, all right, I gotta stop this. Like, I gotta get away from this a little bit. You know what I mean? I've been in it for too long now. Let me get away from it. That's how I am.
Thank you very much, just coming, kicking it with us for not yet another video, right? We appreciate you guys. Again, this is Life First, signing out. Till the next one.
Yeah. So, like always, make sure you like and subscribe hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our amazing videos. And I want to thank y'all for watching. Another episode dropping soon. Peace.